talk about the weather. Very short, very short. Hello and welcome to the replay. I see nobody's here yet. Welcome to the replay. We are here ready to give you some very interesting information about open data and APIs. So we wait a little bit before people can get on. Normally it takes a little bit of time. So while we are waiting for the audience to arrive, why don't we give a weather report? So we can start with Czechia. Karel, how is it in Czechia today?
I think that it is a nice day, sunshine, not very hot. I think that now the weather is very pleasant in these days in Czech.
Oh, sounds good. And how you are in Germany, Ben, are you?
Yes, I am. I'm in Berlin, and if I look outside, it looks nice. The weather is warm, a bit warmer than the last day, so it's a really nice day here in Berlin.
Ah, sounds wonderful. And yeah. Italy, Lorenzino, how are we in Italy? You're not melting away anymore?
Sorry?
You're not melting.
No. Since a couple of days ago, the temperature went down. The sky is blue, but let's say we can sleep very well during the night.
That's an advantage.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, and here in Norway, where I am, it's an overcast day, but nice temperature. And we are recovering from a very, very hot summer for this part of the world. It's not only, well, Europe, you've heard in Europe, it's been really hot summer, also up here north in Scandinavia. But now finally it cools down, so we are getting more at ease. Okay, so I think we are ready to start with this weather report. So welcome to this webinar where we will talk about open data and APIs. My name is Bente Lilja. I'm one of the co-organizers of the INSPIRE Hackathon, and I will guide you through this webinar where you will meet the experts that will tell you more about open data and APIs, and you will also learn about the INSPIRE Hackathon movement in itself. So before we go ahead and start, I will do some housekeeping. So we have these presenters, and you will learn more about them very shortly. But in between their presentations, we would really like you to ask some questions. And the way that you can ask directly now that you're here to the expert is by writing in the chat box. So if you write there, I will keep an eye on that. So I will capture your question, and then we will answer them most likely in between the presentations. And we will also have a Q&A session at the end of the webinar. So please let us know where you come from to start with. So to warm up the question functionalities here, you can tell us where you're from. And meanwhile, we can go around the table and introduce the speakers. So we will start with you, Karel Charvat. Can you introduce yourself?
Hello, good afternoon. My name is Karel Charvat. I am from Czech Republic. I am working almost all my professional career about geospatial data, and in last years I am mainly dealing with open data and big data. I can be considered something like good father of Inspire Hackathon, and with Bente, Thomas, and other, we are organizing this movement last 2 years.
Absolutely. And then Ben, can you reappear here and introduce yourself?
Yeah, of course. So my name is Benjamin Dittwald. I'm living in Germany, working for the Fraunhofer Gesellschaft for the Institute of Open Communication Systems. And my research topics are mainly open data, renewable energy, and smart cities. Thanks.
We are looking forward to hear what you have to say. And Lorenzino.
Yeah. Yes, I'm Lorenzino Vaccari from Italy. I'm a computer scientist, and I have some quite experience on open data. And since 1 year ago on APIs. I work for the Joint Research Center in the north, here in Ispra, in the north of Italy. I'm a scientific officer, and of course, working for the Joint Research Center. I'm working for the European Commission.
Terrific. So we are so glad to have you here. And this webinar is one of several webinars that we organize during the INSPIRE Hackathon. And tomorrow we will have more, another webinar, and also on Friday there will be a couple of more. So you know that this is part of a series. So just remember that, and you will get the replay of this webinar after about a day or so. So you will be able to revisit. But before or now we are starting. So Karel, what is the INSPIRE Hackathon?
Okay, so I have to switch to my presentation. Give me a moment.
Yep. Yes, so we are waiting.
So do you see my screen?
Karel.
Okay,
we can see it.
So I will try to tell you what is INSPIRE Hackathon, and also a little about the history, ideas behind, and our support. You can see that, or if you had the chance to see my presentation from previous hackathon, you can recognize that number of logos, organization or projects supporting INSPIRE Hackathon is growing. I'm very happy, and I hope that we will continue with, and that we will be able to help with open data, and also starting could be some businesses for new company, etc. A little history. We start with first INSPIRE Hackathon 2 years ago on INSPIRE conference in Barcelona. This year it was mainly focused on VGI and citizens observatories, and we were two groups, one group more from VGI and one from Citizens Observatory when we start with this hackathon. And this first hackathon was really done directly on the INSPIRE conference, where people sit together and try to prepare in a very short time some presentation. It was a very nice experience, but what we recognize that there is a limited number of people coming for INSPIRE conference, and we decided to change the model, and I will now tell you a little. In INSPIRE Hack is a little different hack. Yes, it is focused on working together, and main objective of INSPIRE Hack is to support sustainability audit and research data, but also the result. Yeah, because if you are participating in some research, very often happens that after end of the project, there could be some 3 years sustainability. There is running some portal, then all disappear, and after some years you are never able to find any information, any result, what happened. So we decided that it is not the best, and we are trying to support some long-time sustainability. For this purpose, we established Plan for All Association, which is supporting some data sets and sustainability of the project. And then we start with this hackathon, and the primary goal is reuse data and tools. INSPIRE Hackathon is not one event. It is process. Yes, we start with the first INSPIRE Hackathon in Barcelona. We organized other INSPIRE Hackathon in Kel, but meantime we decided that probably will be good opportunity to try to put people together, and we start organize number of satellite hackathons, and with this we are giving to people chance to build long time contact, to work together, and to try, extend it, and develop what they already started. So we are running Inspire Hackathon continuously, usually related to some conferences on other event, and the main focus is capacity building. Inspire used the Inspire conference as a platform, so the Inspire conference is the biggest event for us, and we are trying to prepare the best for this conference. And this year we decided that we will be focused on the API, because API became a hot topic. I would like to mention something. Yes, Inspire Hackathon is not limited on Inspire. So if you are interested about some open data or some other, you can join us, and not thinking that only Inspire teams will be part of the solution or standard. No, Inspire Hack is not limited. Here you can see one from the application we start to be developed a year ago, and it is for agriculture. And if you know well Inspire, you can see, or you can understand, that agriculture is touched by Inspire only partially. I don't know really why, because agriculture is one from the biggest influencer of environment, but it is so. We are not only focused on Europe. Yes, you don't need to afraid that because Inspire is European directive, but we are not focused on Europe. And here you can see one from the pilot which start last year, and it is we started develop open land use for Africa. You can see that till now only part of Africa is covered, and we hope that this Inspire Hackathon or some from the next will help us to cover all Africa by seamless land use. And if you would like to participate, how you can participate? First, you have to go on the Plan for All web pages, and you can see the basic information about Inspire Hackathon. We mentioned that Inspire Hackathon this year is focused on reuse available API, and you can find to our web pages the list of available APIs which was offered by different partners for this hackathon. If you would like to participate, you need to register yourself at first on this form, and then you will receive access to working space. In this working space, there are all projects which are already registered for hackathon, and you have two possibilities: to look on some team and to contact people from some team which are already registered, or you can introduce your own project or your own team for the hackathon. It is not obligatory to go on Inspire conference. You can, the work already started, is running, and Inspire conference will be used for presentation of the result, and the presentation could be done also remotely. So we are really trying to open this event for people from any country, and also for people who are not only participants on Inspire conference. On Inspire conference, we will have our own workshop where all result will be presented, and there is also presentation where we will present the winners of this hackathon, and also the best application from last period. If you will register your own application during 1 or 2 days, this application will be available on Plan for all web pages, and all people will see your ideas, and we will also distribute these ideas on the social media. As I mentioned, yes, participate. Can anybody you can participate as person? You can bring your own project and look for potential collaborator. And this is the goal, to put people together and to give the chance to other people learn about interesting work which was done by other people. So I think that it is all from my presentation. I am
Yeah. Thank you so much, Karel. That was really quick and guidance to how to join the Inspire Hackathon if you are interested. And I certainly hope you are. It's a unique opportunity to work with people that have the same interests as you are having, and also to be inspired by what the other teams are doing. So I highly recommend you go on Plan for All. I just pasted the Plan for All general internet address in the chat box, so you can easily go there and explore the hackathon. And you can see the former hackathons, you can see the teams and the projects that were developed during the former hackathons, as well as the new one or the current one happening right now. And as Karel said,
I would like to add something to
yes.
this. You have also through our web pages chance to join Plan for All. Plan for All is association of organization. We don't collect any fee from our members. Yes, we are asking to help us to do something, and you can also eventually contact us and thinking to prepare a hackathon for some your events and to bring could be your community together with the community of other projects.
Absolutely. We are really all about openness, open data, open APIs, and an open community. And now we are going to hear about the European Data Portal.
Bente, allow me
Yes.
at first to say goodbye, because I have unfortunately to leave the meeting. I have other obligations. So thanks to people who was with us, and I hope that we will meet on this or on some future hackathon. Goodbye.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Karel, and good luck with the future work there. Yes.
Thank you. Bye.
So, yes, Ben, are you ready to introduce the APIs of the European Data Portal and a short introduction to what you offer in your European Data Portal?
Yeah, I'm ready. I just have to start my presentation. Yes. So everybody should see my presentation now.
Yes,
so
we do.
I welcome again, and thank you very much for the introduction to the Inspire Hackathon. And I will give you some tools or some toys you can play with on the hackathon. It's a presentation about the APIs of the European Data Portal, so it's a bit more technical. And as maybe not everyone knows the European Data Portal, I give one slide introduction to this. So maybe, actually it's a portal that publishes all data that is created and published in Europe from the public authorities. Current status is that we have more than 800,000 data sets from 78 catalogs, meaning mostly national portals we are harvesting the metadata from. So we are not storing the data itself, but we store metadata you can use to search and filter and browse through, and we have references in our metadata where you can find the data set, the actual data set. So we have 34 countries covered, more are coming. We have a quality assistant report you can download where we analyze what is the metadata quality and are the references to the data sets. We call them distributions are available or not for access. Everything is translated into all 24 official EU languages. on certain data sets, or at least on many data sets, we have data visualizations, and you can use maps and maps tools and applications to get further insights of the data. And apart from this, you can have a lot of guidance, guidelines, training modules, a lot of material, articles that train you, give you a lot of information about the open data topic. So it's like a Wikipedia with a lot of useful information. And if you're interested in news on open data, we have all the latest news on our portal and can inform you about open data events that are happening in the future. But in my presentation now, I will focus on the catalog side, on the metadata that is available on the portal, and how you can use our APIs in order to receive, search, and do something with this metadata. So what you can see here is a way you can use for browsing the data. You can search for data, filter data. You can see on the left side. On the right side, you can see the detailed view of a metadata set, where you can see all the distributions. There's a small or a short description of the metadata. It's a title. You can see a license, OGL 2.0, and some additional metadata info. So, but maybe you don't want to use this, especially if you're a developer, you don't want to use this this way. You want to use APIs because you want it machine readable. You want to automate search. You want to harvest maybe the portal and do some analytics about it. So first you have to distinguish between the two APIs we are providing with regards of receiving metadata. Our harvester collects the metadata from national portals across Europe and transform them and put them into our CCAN-based catalog. It's a typical database where you can use the CCAN API on top of it. And we mirror every data set that comes in and transform it into real DCAT AP. DCAT AP is based on the WW3 standard DCAT, and it's a metadata description specification where you can describe your governmental metadata, so title, description, licenses, and so on. I've put a link there, so it's everywhere. It's well explained. And I will focus on the two APIs you can see here, the CCAN API and the Virtuoso API. Virtuoso is the application for the triple store we have deployed in the European data portal. But let's start with the CCAN API. So there's a pretty good manual you can have a look in. And actually, everything I want to say today is well covered in this manual. For example, if you want to send a curl request, I've put here a structure as an example how this looks like. It's a simple REST API. I wouldn't say it's RESTful because the recommended API from CCAN is more an RPC style API. So you have the base URL, send the GET request, HTTP GET request to it, and put an action behind the base URL, base path. So I have some examples for you. For example, if you want to search for election, you can use the action package search, as you can see above the screenshot, and put a parameter beside it called Q and search for election. And CCAN always gives you, if you have no further parameters, a JSON answer that always has three parts. So it has the help part where CCAN shows the help or a URL or a web resource you can use to get some further information about the action you are using. Then an indicator whether your request was successful or not, and the results you're looking for. In this case, we got 5,306 results, and we searched for election, meaning election is inside the title or the description or somewhere inside the text of the CK metadata. In another example, we again search for election, but we put a filter on top of it. So we only want those data sets that have something to do with election, but where the distributions, so-called, and the references to the real data are at least available in the format of CSV. And you can see the same result, a bit lower count. So we only have lower than 2,000 results. And basically that's it. It's really easy to use the CKN API and to formulate some requests. And there's a lot of data you can look for. Not only, well, we have a lot of INSPIRE data in our portal, but not only INSPIRE data. But as you just heard, it's fine to come with other data as well. So we now have the Sparkle endpoint. And you can see on the screenshot, you can use it both ways. You can send HTTP request, or you can just browse to European Data Portal EU/Sparkle and type in or use the editor to create your query. However, Sparkle can be very complicated, and this is not a tutorial of Sparkle, it's a tutorial on how to use the APIs of European Data Portal. So I would recommend to use a post request here, HTTP post request, because the Sparkle query can become quite long. I posted here an API documentation on how to use the Virtuoso endpoint. However, in the example curl structure, we formulate the post request with the format parameter. We say Virtuoso what format we want to receive, RDF, XML, Turtle, and so on. And of course, there's a query and the endpoint. Looking at two examples, for example, we want to have the number of data sets per theme. We use one prefix here, dcat, so we have to announce it. Then we select, we define some variable theme and count, and looking for data sets and group them by the theme. And for, because I want to paste the whole results here, we have a limit of 2 results. Above you can see the Sparkle query and the corresponding API call via curl below of the Sparkle query. And here you can see the answer. We asked for RDF XML. Yeah. And you can see that we have a theme. It's health, the first one, and we have 8,037 data sets in it, and below less than 1,000 data sets in INTR theme. I have to admit, I cannot, I don't know what this category is for it. The categories are based in these acronyms from the Publications Resource Authority. So it's all DCAT AP based. But maybe we want to have a more complex query. So we want to receive data sets that have CSV distributions. And here it's a bit more complicated because we cannot just say there's a resource with a distribution format CSV. So we have to build a more complex query, which I don't want to explain now, but you can just copy paste this query and it will work. So also the result here, only 2 results because of the readability, and you can see them here. Besides that, we have some more components that may be of interest for you. We have a harvester component that harvesting all the metadata. We have the metadata quality assurance component, and both of these components have APIs as well. So you can receive via API harvesting information, schedules, meta information, issues with the harvesting processes, maybe as they occur, or you can query metadata quality data. So the decade appliance of a single data set or of a catalog we are harvesting. What is the health status of distributions? Of course, not live, but well checked every week for the distributions availability. All our components, all manuals of every component is published in our open GitLab group. The link is there. It's European Data Portal behind GitLab. So there's everything you need in order to use our components. I heard there is a question round afterwards. So I would say I'm done with my slides. Thank you for listening.
Thank you so much, Ben. That was really interesting. So you can ask for questions right away, and we can come back to it afterwards as well. These slides will be made available on the planforall.eu webpage, so you can explore afterwards as well. But I have a question for you, Ben. So you say that your portal is making data from the member countries, the governmental, the authoritative data available. And of course, they are INSPIRE compliant. Do you have, I saw you have DCAT. Do you have GeoDCAT, you know, the spatial distribution of the data? There are different types of data. Do you have any additional information with respect to the spatial distribution or and the possible use of GeoDCAT?
So there is a support of GeoDCAT, and but we will have greater support of GeoDCAT and GeoDCAT extended with the progress of the project of the European Data Portal, and yeah.
Right.
So
yeah. Okay. And just to clarify, so the data that you have is many different types of data. They are not, do you have access to the Copernicus data also, or is that, you know, in a separate portal?
So far, not. No. There's
okay.
Not yet any Copernicus data, unfortunately.
Right. So just to explain why I'm asking, because very often combining Earth observation data with the types of data that comes from the government here in the European data portals will provide us with very interesting new information. So, and I think that I make that the segue to Lorenzino, who is actually very interested in combining all types of APIs, I know. So if you could be good and de-share your screen, Ben, thank you so much. If you don't have had time to ask the question yet, please do write it in the chat box and we can come back to it after Lorenzino has informed us about APIs in general. So Lorenzino, the floor is yours.
Thanks a lot, Bente. Welcome to everybody again. And thanks to the interesting presentation of Ben. Actually, we will interact with Ben maybe later or in the next days, because the European Data Portal will be one of our case studies. But now I will start with the presentation. And actually, the presentation is about the project I'm working on. Let's see. Okay, can you see the screen?
It's coming.
Can you see it? I think I lost the signal. Are you there?
No, we can see it, Lorenzino. You can go
Okay.
ahead,
Okay.
and you can
Nice.
turn on off your camera as well, but not your sound.
Okay. Great. So this is the second time I present the project, the study I'm working with some of the colleagues here at the Joint Research Center. We had a previous webinar, as you know. And as I was saying, I'm working for the Joint Research Center of the European Commission Unit B6 Digital Economy Unit. We are split in two parts. The digital part is here in Ispra, in the north of Italy, close to Milano, and the economic part is in Sevilla, in Spain. Okay. A few words about the Joint Research Center. Is the European Commission Science and Knowledge Service that support, let's say, the policies of the European Commissions and European Union in general. Our unit is investigating the ongoing digital revolution and information ICT technologies that are affecting the economy and the governments in general. We are also working on disrupting technologies like blockchain and artificial intelligence, and we are supporting the organization of the INSPIRE conference as well. Let's talk about, let's focus about the API study I'm leading, and let's say that this study started in January this year, and it will last till the end of 2019. We are working in collaboration with the Directorate General Connect, which is, let's say, the customer of the study, and they are very much interested on how the governments can invest, why the government should invest in APIs and how they can do it. And that's why they asked us the collaboration to support the study. We will contribute to some of the policies and documents of the European Commission, namely the EU e-government action plan 2016-2020, and in particular its contribution to support to modernize the public administration. We will also support the implementation, and we are analyzing also the implementation of the European interoperability framework, in particular regarding the develop, maintaining, and promoting key interoperability enablers, like, for example, the APIs. We support also the implementation of the once only principle. In September, there will be also a conference, after the mid of October, actually, there will be a conference in Vienna about the once only principle, to which we will also participate. And our goal is also to reinforce the building block approach adopted by the Connecting European Facilities program. Okay, let's go to the study. As I was saying, our main goal is to answer to two main questions. Why governments in European Union should invest resources in setting up an API ecosystem, and in the second part of the study, which government action should be taken in developing government APIs. We had the first phase of the study in which we analyze and we assess the API landscape opportunities, the current trends, and the horizon. We are working in the second phase right now in this period, launching, for example, a survey and a workshop to identify some key enablers, drivers, barriers, potential risks, and mitigates, and also, which is very important, the socioeconomic impacts of the adoption of APIs. And the next year, we will propose some best practices and a recommendation for at the European level. We started analyzing some case studies for Estonia, Denmark, Amsterdam, Flanders. We also interact with the FIWARE framework. And we had also some interesting cases at the city level, like the Madrid Mobility Labs. We will have other next case studies, like, for example, the one of the European Data Portal, and the one of some other geographical case studies, like, for example, the Global Biodiversity Information Facility, and also the Inspire Geoportal, of course, because my unit is also in charge to develop the Inspired Job Portal as well. What we observe during this first analysis, that when they are implemented, the APIs are really very much used. And if you can see some few data of the cases that we analyzed, for example, for the addresses in Denmark, they implemented also the once only principle. They had only one place in which they had collected all the addresses for all the country, and they had in 2017 more than 1.5 billion requests. An interesting thing about the Madrid Mobility Labs is the fact that they started almost 8 years ago to openly publish their APIs. Now they have 2,500 developers registered in the system and more than 100 of apps developed for the city of Madrid about the transportation. This means that they invested a lot in the quality of APIs and the quality of their data, and they had a very, very good feedback from their investment. This is very useful for the governments and also for the cities that are thinking either to start their strategy or to implement it. Why we are here, why we are collaborating with the Inspired Hackathon event, let's say, this will help us to understand how the different data sets that are mentioning in the hackathon, like the Inspired ones, the GEOS, Copernicus, and other data sets from other domains using web APIs can create value-added applications. We would like also to know which are the challenges and which solution the participants of the hackathon will propose to make a cross-boundary and cross-sector applications to enhance the interoperability between different member states, for example, different regions and cities, and among different sectors, not only the geospatial sectors, but also other sectors, the health sector, for example. And also, we are interested in understanding which are the emerging technologies that have been used or are going to be used for the geospatial and non-geospatial APIs. I have here one example that we observed during this last year. For the Open Geospatial Consortium, for example, the way as far we are noticing is to go to open APIs and to use REST APIs for the Web Feature Service proposal standard. They are proposing a true REST interface. They will use an open API definition instead of the classical OGC specific capabilities document, and they will use security options like, for example, OAuth 2. Okay, we also observe it in the GeoPortal of the Global Earth Observation System of Systems, the Geo Discovery and Access Broker. I put in every page the link to the things that I'm mentioning. They are also using APIs to find and combine resources from this catalog that collects geospatial resources from all over the world. I also summarize here in the slides briefly the resources you can use for collecting and for using the APIs. You can use the classical resources, the Inspired Job Portal, the GEOS portal I was mentioning, and of course the European Data Portal Ben was showing in the previous presentation. But there are also some other resources for the APIs, which are the ones that are proposed in the Plan for All website that we also supported to collect. Some private companies registries and some public institutions registries, namely a list of well-identified EU government APIs that are the ones that I was talking about before, that you can find in the website of the hackathon. The sources we used are from the Programmable Web API directory, which contain more than 20,000 APIs, and also we collected some APIs from previous studies made by European Commission. Okay, here I just summarize some private API registries. I was mentioning the Programmable Web, the huge, the largest complete list of private and public APIs available on the web. an interesting website, Mashape, that now is has merged with Rapid APIs, which contains private and public APIs. And it is interesting because it is a kind of marketplace in which the APIs, I mean, they are sold, and the people that can contribute, they have a blog, they can exchange opinion on APIs and so on. And here I listed also other minor registries in case you would like to use them. I was mentioning programmable web. As I was saying, it has more than 20,000 APIs, of which only 700 they are governmental APIs, and less than 100 are from EU. And this gives you an idea on how much work we should do as a government to develop and to work on APIs. Just a screenshot of the Mashape Rapid APIs marketplace, and this gives you also an idea on how, if you develop APIs on your based on your application or on your datasets, you can let's say benefit from distributing and monetize your APIs. There is a nice an interest case from France. They have a public API registry, and they linked to each APIs the public services that are using these APIs, which is quite interesting as a solution for us. This is my last slide, and here I put the references I was talking about before. Of course, if you have any questions, I'm here, or I will be available also after the webinar and at the Inspire conference as well. Thanks a lot for your attention.
Thank you so much, Lorenzino. That was very useful for me also. And I just discovered that the chat has not been opened up for questions. So I apologize for that. But now I have opened it up, and I just sent you a very short poll answering if you have or have not used an API before. And I think that's an interesting question for you as well, Lorenzino. Have you or have you not used an API? Even though we saw that you have a lot of APIs already available in Europe, I also know for a fact that there are still some missing. So Lorenzino, if you could unshare your screen, and you all come back here with your video cams, that would be great. Hello. So here we are again.
Yes, I started using APIs where they were not on the web. I was a developer for let's say operating systems and for industrial systems from some years. So I know the concept of APIs since a lot of years ago. And now, during the last years, the APIs are moving to the web. And I'm using them mainly because of my experience with open data. As Ben was saying before, we are using APIs mostly to exchange data sets, but not only. They can be used also to process data and to offer models like we have, for example, here at the JRC, we have some scientific models that they offer APIs, but unfortunately, most of the times, these APIs are closed, are behind the system, let's say. They are not available as open APIs. This is a kind of situation as the one that we had with the data sets. Before, some years ago, they were within the government, they are closing the government, and now, as we can see from the presentation of Ben, they are very much published on the data catalog from all over the world. Okay, the United States, they started in 2009, but I'm not here to tell you the history of open data. We hope that the same will happen for APIs, and we are having the, let's say, a proof of these advantages from the private sector. The private sector, they started some years ago, Amazon in 2002, to publish their APIs, and they had a very lot of advantages, both internal to the organization and external to the organizations. So if you're asking me technically how I can use APIs, I think that there are a lot of standards. One of the most used is the one that the ADP is using, either by using the Sparkle queries or the ones by using the REST and RESTful APIs.
So Ben, I can ask you then, perhaps, can you tell us something about how much or how many people are using these APIs that you provide?
I didn't look it up. I could tell you, and we have those reports and we publish them on the portal.
Ah, yeah. Okay.
But I have to lie if I say a number now.
Oh, okay, but you do keep a track of how much people are using it, and publishing it, and for you, Ben. So whether or not it's open, so the APIs can be open, or we who have been working with open data also for a long time, we discover that people are having a different concept what it means to be open. So being open but one simple distinction is, how easy is it to find the APIs? Now, apparently you at the European Data Portal, you make an effort. You showed us a list of the resources, e-learning, and so on. So you're here to talk about how people can actually get access to the APIs and how to use it.
Yeah.
But I guess so. Yeah. So you obviously have a focus on that. But Lorenzino, you said this is not the case everywhere, right? That it's easy accessible, even if it's open. It's not so open because you have to be a really good detective, or do you have any early findings in terms of information about how easy or difficult it is to find the open APIs?
So it's not that easy. So if you consider the European Data Portal as a comprehensive portal with a lot of data or potentially APIs across Europe, you will see that it's not so easy to find APIs that are offered besides this CSV files or RDF files, XML files, and so on. And part of it is that not everyone offers APIs or publish APIs, but it's also a question of metadata quality. So you have to somewhere announce this is an API and this API uses the standard and so on. That's often not the case, and that makes it so hard to tell someone this is an API and this is not an API. Right.
Yeah. So Lorenzino, what you aim to find out is more the general status with respect to the APIs. Is that one of your goals by doing your project now?
So
yes.
Sorry.
Lorenzino,
you want to add something? Okay. This is one of the goals, actually, and the question you're posing is one of the main questions we have. How can you find the right API? We don't have so many catalogs, as you could see from my slides. There are not a lot, and the ones that we have are based on a voluntary basis. This means that they are not complete. Especially for Europe, we have very few examples, and also there is not a standard or a specification on a unique, at least, on how to describe the APIs. We have some emergent ways, like the Open API Swagger standard that can be used to describe the APIs, but as far I can see, as far I can know, there is not a unique way to make an API catalog. I think that this is also a challenge.
Yes.
If, for example, we have to create catalogs of APIs, or if there will be another way to let the APIs auto-documenting with semantic annotation on a web, letting the search engines to find them. But this is something that we are analyzing, and also that we will ask to the people that will come to the workshop we are organizing here with the member states at the middle of October, and with some experts from other administration, not only from Europe, that they started implementing APIs some years ago. So this is a quite good question that we also would like to answer.
Yes.
And we
Yes.
we hope at the end of next year we will have some recommendation and guidelines to share with everybody.
Yes. So I tested. I started to test it. I'm not doing this programming, but just trying to find the data and finding a way to access the data. That's what APIs is about. And in Norway we have this all the governmental, is sort of a mini European data portals only for Norway, and it's for the Barents region. So it's called Barents Watch. And so it's in the polar region, which is important not only for Norway, but for, well, the entire world. Anyways, you have all the governmental bodies that are having a mandate and a responsibility in that area. So you have fisheries, you have the Coast Guard, you have different types of, the mapping agencies and so on. So there's a whole bunch of governmental organizations. They provide a lot of INSPIRE compliant data. And the idea of Barents Watch was that it should be one place where people can go and find the data they were looking for, right? It turned out that we need a little bit more like what you are doing, Ben. First of all, they need to be a training and a guidance in order to find, to find out what you need and how to access it. Both, that's two questions, right? But they found out, based on experience, that it was so difficult for people that they started to actually create some sort of products themselves. Do you understand what I'm saying, right? So do you have any experience with that? For instance, the European data portal, it seems like it could be a similar situation, as not only, in this cold region in Norway.
I'm not sure I got your complete question. If you can just rephrase it a bit.
Yeah, so you have many providers of the data that you are making available through your catalog, right? The governmental organizations, European governmental organizations, and but finding the right data they are looking for, and actually finding the APIs. Is this something you've gotten some feedback on? Obviously, you are doing a lot to make the API accessible, but the data comes from one place. So you might have heard that this, okay, so what you offer is a very, thank you very much. Now my life is better. Or do you get any types of comments or feedback with respect to that?
So yeah, first we motivated people to give us feedback, what they are looking for and what they find and what they might not find. And we try to somehow track the need people and things what they are looking for. So we do not have the answer of all requests for sure, but I'm not so deep into this part that I can say there's a certain amount of people, or what is the amount of people that are not not finding the things that they are looking for.
Oh. But you recognize the problem.
Okay.
So I can tell you, just as a piece of information for you, Lorenzino, also, because I was looking for combining Copernicus data. So this is the INSPIRE Hackathon. One thing we want people to do is to combine different types of data, right? From Copernicus to different INSPIRE type of data from the governments. So we were looking for data on fisheries and the movements of boats in and around Svalbard, Spitsbergen in Norway. And it turns out that, well, we found after a lot of Googling and telephoning that there is some data. But then finally, when we wanted to access the data with an API, ideally, because this will be part of the hackathon, and we found out that they didn't have anything, and they are so contradictory in many ways, because they say, yeah, well, it's open. Yeah, here's one thing I heard. Yes, you can have access. I can grant you access to this data. You have to sign this research formula that you are going to use it for your research. And one of the so you have to sign something before you can access the data, right? And you promise to use it for research. And the interesting part is you also promise to give the results that the way you're using the data needs to be open. So it's not open to get the data, but they require that what you do with the data is open. I mean,
Can I add something?
Yes.
This is something that also came to my mind when Ben was speaking and you were asking the question to Ben. Yeah. That the added value of APIs, as far we understood right now, is that the API is a contract. Is exactly the thing that is missing, and you were asking. If you add to the downloading, the normal raw download of the dataset, this contract, which is this technical specification and documentation of APIs, you can access directly by using the contract, let's say a transparent interface, a middleware, that can you access automatically to the data without be worried on the format of the data. Mostly because usually the format of the data is a JSON, is an open format produced by the APIs. You can access by using a standard interface, declared, documented, and so on. When, for example, you are Googling some data, or you also find some data on catalogs, the only functionalities that you have is the download. Okay, but you don't know how to update the data. You don't know if you can download some pieces, if you can download some classes. You don't know the model of the data and so on. The APIs can give you, if they are, of course, if they are done in a good way, they can give you all this information in a structured and standard way. Standard for the provider. I mean, then. As I said, there is not a unique standard all around the world, and this is also one of our tasks. Let's say to at least to provide a list of best practices and guidelines. But you're right. I mean, this is the missing piece. After 10 years, I was working on open data. I realized that this could be the missing piece to download and to use the data sets.
Yes. So just I see that people have answered my mini poll. Have you or have you not used APIs before? And 33% of our audience have, and 67% have not. So yeah, both here. So I hope that you will get something out of both the presentations for sure, and also a little bit about the conversation we have had now. It's an interesting challenge, and there's a lot to gain in saving of time, saving of time for us who are trying to combine the data, and of course you have the economic aspect, as you mentioned, Lorenzino. I want to ask a question for those who are considering playing with the APIs, testing out, say they have a problem and they say, I would like to have this and that data. And they end up by finding some data through APIs, but other data, they discover there is no API. Would that, if they are a part of this hackathon and they are exploring this in their project, would that information be something that you would appreciate knowing about? Would that be useful for your project to just simply know there is no API for that type of data?
Absolutely, yes. This is feedback that we would like to have from the participants to the hackathon. Please tell us if some APIs are missing, or if you think that some APIs can be added to a particular sector, even if you don't know the data, but then you would need to access in a particular way to some data on a particular sector. This is really important for us. Also,
so there you go.
Yeah. Also to suggest some solutions maybe, and to say, look, this really concretely, these people, they were searching for this thing and they didn't find it. So it could be useful to go toward this direction.
Exactly. So that was what I had a feeling that would be interesting in your project to sort of get that picture, the entire picture. So with, as in every science and research and development project, a negative answer is also an important result. So don't be discouraged if you think or you don't know if there is an API. Go ahead and define your problem and see what you find out with respect to APIs. This is also a very good contribution to our INSPIRE Hackathon this year about APIs.
You could also say, if I can add something, look, I found this API. This is very interesting. I would like to have the same for this data. Yeah. This could be very nice for us.
Yeah. Okay. Any additional comments? I don't see any questions, so I hope I have asked some questions that also is helpful for the audience. Ben, do you have any final comment, that additional information you want to convey to the audience?
Just keep an eye on the European Data Portal. There are a lot of updates coming next year, so interesting stuff is going on, new features there. We're working on it.
Yes. So,
thanks for all.
Yes. And Lorenzino, a last word? Not the very last word.
I wish. I hope not. I wish to give good luck to all the participants and see you at the Inspire conference.
Yes.
Bye-bye.
See you at the Inspire conference. Thank you so much, everyone, and stay tuned to Plan for All, next year's the European Data Portal, and JRC, just to mention a few. So until the next time, remember there's a webinar tomorrow, and that's where you will learn more about some of the projects so you can get inspired by the other participants. You will also learn more about other data portals. And on Friday, we have a special focus on security. So APIs related to security, and also another example of some of the teams that have signed up for this Inspire Hackathon. So there's plenty of material coming, more to learn from here in this short period of time, a few days now, but you still have about 2.5 weeks. You can do a lot in 2.5 weeks. So thank you, and until the next time.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.